People have the right to change, yet once you decide to platform yourself, you must accept the responsibility that comes with it. Once that platform is misused, your reputation will forever be stained. Though pressure is applied, they always find a way to escape. And unfortunately, you become the wolf that got away. But once you start shooting shots, expect to be shot back.
Dude, I could literally not give two fucks about getting attention.
So for you, it wasn't about moral values, it was about whether or not you get views.
I guess I could say it's both. Go right up fucking head. Go upload it. I dare you.
Okay, I know why, because you're going to DMC a takedown it, aren't you?
What you're doing is illegal.
I have nothing to lose. Yeah, I am in the wrong for talking inappropriately
you are
with a minor. Yes.
Andrew stole $500,000 out of my bank.
I was the only individual hit with 2 strikes, and I nearly had my entire channel wiped.
Everyone has agreed to not
Penal
touch
Code,
you.
Title 7, Offenses Against Property.
Disclaimer. I talk about themes like zoophilia, mental health, pedophilia, doxing, and things of that nature. If these topics disturb you or you're underage, please click off. I also don't condone harassing, doxing, or threats made to anyone in this video. Also, in case this video gets falsely taken down or saying I stole the art in order to disregard the video, I have gotten permission to use all the art of Dander Woolf that the artist has created, along with all clips being made to fit with fair use. With all that being said, let's get to the point. In order to see exactly why Dander continues this behavior, or even why he still has the problem today, we must first answer a lot of questions. Why is he problematic? Is his community toxic? Did he really change? Why does he keep getting away? And finally, what can we learn from all this? But we can't answer any of those questions without first asking, who is Dander Woolf? Or with his recent rebrand, NovelyJpg. Dander Woolf is a commentary channel who I regret considering him a YouTuber. If I could describe him in one word, it would be pharisaical. He prides himself for calling out others, yet has the same flaws as them. He's hypocritical and ignores the fact that he's done horrid things. The best example would be with Garo Shadowscale. Before the drama got as big as it did, he was known as making videos after videos about Garo Shadowscale, with 6 videos and hundreds of tweets, promising never to talk about Garo, but whenever he becomes relevant, he's always piggybacking once again, with Labrat rightfully calling out this behavior. Now, do I side with Garo? No. When I say I don't condone harassment, I really do try to put it into practice. There's some things about Garo that I just can't support him, but there's a fine line between calling for justice and just plain harassment. Dander just didn't like this take from Lab, and they had a Twitter feud. To basically summarize it all, one of Dander's fans, air quotes, decided to be transphobic to Lab, with Dander basically doing the same, but we'll talk about that later. I feel Dander, with his label of commentary creator, he tends to bite off more than he can chew. And the moment he starts realizing it's hurting his reputation, he backs off and scrubs his profile clean and denies any wrongdoings.
I'm not drinking, bro.
Sure.
I don't drink.
You do drink. Our first interaction was literally you drinking yourself to being almost wasted. Unless you're just that fucking stupid that you constantly seem like you're drunk. Because you were definitely.
I don't drink.
He's unreliable and untrustworthy, which will soon answer the question, why is he problematic? And to answer that question, we have to talk about 2 parts, himself as Dander and himself as Perpeyinba, one and the same, doing equally terrible acts. For himself as Dander, the biggest controversy surrounding him was with an individual named Galaxy, and their history is so twisted that a clear narrative isn't possible anymore. But to summarize it, because of Galaxy, zoo files were in his server and zoo porn was posted on his Discord server with minors.
The f*** is there 30 of them?
With mods at the time not even having an option to delete the picture or ban this user. It was up for hours until Dander finally got home. Obviously, with that content being for minors to have to witness is something that angered everyone who knew about it, me included. And yet, he showed a willingness to take accountability. A 180 was pulled, and he claims he's not responsible for that incident because server owners aren't liable, even if that server is your own community. This was a take that's infuriating. If you're a creator, you have responsibilities, and one of the main ones is ensuring that your community and audience are safe from harm. When minors are involved, it's extremely important to emphasize this fact. Dander doesn't understand it, joking about the file size after everything is said and done, stating they kicked minors out, yet later allowed them back in and joked about letting them in, as well as being blackmailed to keep a zoo in his server. With someone who was underage being a moderator and Dander saying questionable things to them, it's upsetting. Knowing minors were put in harm's way and he refused to even take accountability is deeply upsetting, yet this isn't even half of it. He doxes people he doesn't like, going so far to dox his ex-boyfriend, spreading the dox to the Supreme Court, and even Galaxy himself. Now, if you want to say it's all fake,
can I have gay sex with you?
Texas is wild.
What?
Texas is crazy.
Oh, bro. But still, you didn't answer the question. Is that a yes or a no?
I didn't hear your question.
Gay sex with you when?
You almost done? So glad you didn't hide your number, because now I get to block it.
Holy shit, bro.
Go ahead, be my guest. We're in an age where everything can be faked, but tell me honestly, who else would go out of their way to dox a random person who would be Dander's ex, claim to drain a credit card of someone they met, and all that nonsense, which has such a perplexing dilemma in its own right.
How did he get your password?
We kind of like did some this does not need to see the light of YouTube, but Dander and I did do loot in that hotel room. But then I went to sleep. I fell asleep. And then he did all of this when I was out.
We know Dander physically knew Galaxy and stole his credit card details, with Discord screenshots confirming they in fact did meet with each other. I feel that fact went unnoticed. But with him draining his card and claiming it was because he was a zoo, he really put himself in a corner, providing these three options he now has to pick. A. He knew he was a zoo beforehand and stole his credit card to drain it, while doxing him after that fact. Galaxy claiming he was tricked into giving Dander his phone, with Dander doing this while he was sleeping. B. Dander did all of this without knowing he was a zoo, but is using the fact that Galaxy got outed as a zoo to try and justify very serious crimes that he committed before knowing he was a zoo. C. He lied about draining the card, yet stole his card only to buy a water bottle plus the $150 he failed to give Galaxy while doxing his information. We know this from Galaxy. All three options, he has to admit to committing a serious crime, and one of these lesser evils he has to address, which given the limited choices, he's bound to just ignore it, and going so far to continue this lie with his server. Now, I want to make this very clear. I do not support Galaxy or his beliefs. I do not condone these people or support them, like Dander pretends to be, even getting zoo porn being sent to them by a zoo. But two wrongs don't make a right, and especially in the eyes of the law. It doesn't matter what Galaxy's into. On paper, he has a case. Exactly what happened with another zoophile who copyright struck Dander and ultimately got his Discord account banned, which is why you see a deleted account in some messages. Now, although both are terrible people, they're legally able to pursue that action. If you're just posting someone's entire video without commentary or anything to make it fair use, then they have the right to copyright strike people, which in a case like Zunk's, he's allowed to do so despite what people may say and ultimately do themselves. In order to emphasize this, here's someone who has a degree in law that can point out what Dander doing is illegal.
In the state in question, it is illegal to publish someone's address or phone number on a public internet site for the purpose of causing them harm to the individual or to the member of his or her family. Doxing carries penalties of up to 6 months in jail and a $2,000 fine. Penal Code Title VII, Offenses Against Property, the illegal obtainment of someone's credit card or other people's property, denoting money in this situation, or access to their bank accounts or money, is illegal according to the state in question, as this is a forgery or complete inappropriate acquisition of their private financial institution. This is punishable in the state in question. This could be anything from a Class C misdemeanor if the value of the property or service is less than $100, all the way to a felony of the first degree if the value of the property or service is more than $300,000.
The final issue he's been in is inappropriately chatting with a minor. That same minor that was his moderator for his server. That same minor that's still in his server and community now. I'm stating that as it shows that level of loyalty he has despite numerous red flags and illegal activity he's committed, even with the minor making a whole video condemning him. He got called out before, and recently it came to light again after he talked publicly about Zunks. Zunks isn't a creator I defend, as he called Dander a pedophile. While I don't think Dander is one, the evidence to suggest he is there. You're looking at messages of him sending zoo porn to a minor because he's investigating. He sent YIF to a minor, sent a minor a TikTok of a girl being SA'd, and even said the minor was wrong for turning him on and getting him into the mood. Seeing these messages, it's disgusting. And this isn't the first instant he or his community would post something quite weird and explicit with minors in his server. And I brought it up to his attention once again to show that although he's not a pedo, the evidence to correlate that is there, and something he doesn't take accountability for. His initial response apologizing, only to blame it on the minor, and now just stating he doesn't care, it's sickening. It's something that already warns you that he doesn't care for a minor's well-being. His community is not a safe space for them, nor is it safe at all. Although,
the instance where Dander quite literally asked me to go out with him. Now, the actual asking out was in a voice call, mind you, and as was unexpected, I unfortunately did not record it. Luckily for me, I have a few screenshots alluding to that event, which are on the screen now. I, of course, having some common sense, declined his offer, as there was the massive age gap.
In the state in question, the age of consent is 17 years of age. That means anybody who is under the age of 17 is incapable of legally consenting to sexual activity. It's important to denote the distinction between legally consenting compared to just consenting. So while it may be morally ambiguous or disdained to engage in sexual banter with someone under the age of 18, the age of consent in the state in question is 17. However, the alleged victim was 16, meaning that any sexual banter could be construed as illegal and therefore a jailable offense.
Another habit Dander seems to have is copyright striking people who criticize him. There was a video that got taken down by Dander because it was a video about him, and he even threatened to copyright striking Coyote Lovely. Now, Coyote has his own issues that I can't support him. What I will support is everyone's right to free speech on this platform, and as we already know, copyright striking is a crime. Now, blackmailing to threaten to DMCA a creator is wrong, but for a case like Coyote Lovely, this fact could be thrown out for the simple reason that people don't like him. But that doesn't excuse these next actions, and the reason why this video even came out. Dander has tried to move account and identities. Changing his name, it's unclear whether he did that just to do it or scrub his reputation slightly, avoiding what he tweeted as that handle and making videos against them harder to find. On the VR chat side of things, he became Core the Wicker. He stated he briefly used it, so I'm going to briefly mention it. Nowadays, his other account is Flumi Fofi. Although on one side he hates Lab and Wolfgang with a passion, on this account he favors and praises them for going after Zunks, a guy he hates more, which is going to be a common trend you'll see in Dander. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. And every time someone bashes a creator, and especially a creator that bashed him, he's quick to jump on that train. And that leaves us with Purple Yimba. At the time, they said they were 16 and trans, and had a huge crush for Dander, with everyone who spoke about Dander being copyright struck. Long story short, these actions caught up to him and he admitted he was Purple Yimba. I was the first to get hit with these strikes and would be the last. More on that later. But at this time, I was a minor. I was 16. And at that time, Dander threatened to release my information, my real name and location, a minor's real name and location. And with all the copyright strikes going to people he hated, he was essentially collecting everyone's information and held that fact over our heads, which is why most of us didn't appeal.
I copyright struck only the people who are like into drama or like to expose people or all the people who basically were on to me, I was getting.
Oh,
and it was all
made another post,
retaliation, and this happened last year.
For him to say this is wrong. He went after other people who had no involvement or even spoke about him, just that they were creators who followed us, the biggest one being his attempt at Beta Ada Deloda, which really is no surprise at all that he's not allowed in his server. But aside from the copyright strikes, The account, which was played to be a trans female who would lash out that people weren't respecting their pronouns, was a clear sign that this choice was made deliberately. And I'm led to believe it was a transphobic decision, as he did this just to mock an individual who he thought did the same to him. And either him or a friend of his created an alt by Cilantro Zoo, which was made to get a reaction from Coyote Lovely, and interacted with Zeus before being suspended. So, I'm excited to see if Dander throws a friend under the bus to save his own skin or own up to this account. He used these accounts to finally get his revenge from the grudges he held before we sniffed him out. Striking himself and playing a double agent drained every single one of us. Lab getting the worst of it, with 2 videos being struck. All her hard work would be erased and brought her to the point of debating whether to be on this earth.
So Novely asked me to come on and speak a bit about this, and generally how it made me feel. My name is Labrat, I'm a YouTube content creator, and I was one of the individuals originally hit by the Purple Yinba strike back in 2023. I was the only individual hit with 2 strikes, and I nearly had my entire channel wiped off the face of the earth and had to private every single video I have ever made in order to stop this. It made me feel horrific. Generally, it just felt like 4 years of my work was about to be wiped off the internet by a 21-year-old who was role-playing as a 15-year-old. Not only that, but it was going to be wiped off the platform with YouTube seemingly washing their hands of the situation and saying, oh, there's nothing we can do, we can't do anything about this. Allowing someone to just go and copyright the most minute little details of someone's video and claim it as their own, purely to damage that individual monetarily, financially, or artistically. It sucked. And it's partly the reason as to why stuff like this really annoys me when it comes to YouTube, is that you can be gone in seconds even though you've built up an entire arsenal or entire bunch of videos that you've worked so tirelessly on, that someone who doesn't own the copyright to your media or your creation can just claim they do, and YouTube, because of its legal neutrality, won't do anything. And then you have to give your full details to the accuser, essentially doxing yourself to them. Full street, home address, full name, everything. But you never receive theirs. It just made me feel helpless, and YouTube didn't help me feel any better about that. They even helped me feel worse about that when it came to it. I felt genuinely helpless.
This would obviously bring Dander satisfaction. He hates Lab and everyone she knows. Whether you respect Lab or not, this is a terrible action, and she's not the only person Dander hurt, with Simple Nix being driven off this platform because of him.
And I know I always say this, but I'm like, I really do want to come back to YouTube, because the reality is it sucks that it wasn't even my community. It wasn't anybody else's community that fucking pushed me off the platform. It wasn't like a call out or a cancellation or anything like that. It was just this psycho asshole who decided he wanted to copyright strike all of us. That's fucked up. Like, he ruined the platform for me. I could not find any passion in doing any kind of videos anymore, because it was so stressful thinking back on what I had just gone through with all this Dander Woolf drama. It was so obnoxious. I couldn't get myself to want to make videos anymore. And it had nothing to do with my community. It had nothing to do with my friends, my peers. It had everything to do with this person put me through a month of turmoil, of stress, of trying to keep everybody together and everybody like to stop losing their because it felt like everyone was kind of leaning on me, and I'm just sitting here like, dude, I don't know what the to do. Like, this dude just randomly copyright striking us. I don't know who he is. I don't know what to do.
It goes to show Dander had no idea what his actions would cause, and there was great suffering on everyone's mental state. So when he finally rested the account, we thought this was over. We thought we all could finally rest and distance ourselves from Dander. But did he really change? And to that I say, no. A few days after the Yimba situation, we all got hit with the dog spin, where a friend of Dander would try and get the real names of Lab, Lagover, Simple Nix, Honda Hound, myself, and others. Again, I was 16 at the time. He was committed to doxing a minor, with Simple Nix getting the worst of it.
He went to a doxer to tell him all our problems. He went to a doxer to say, oh, I'm really upset with all these people. And then, of course, the doxer went and doxed us. And instead of just saying, hey, guys, I really f***ed up, he was more concerned with his own ass. Because I was telling him, you need to tell this person to stop. You need to tell this person to leave us alone. Novely's a minor. You are literally having a minor dox. You had my computer compromised. You had my Twitter hacked because you went to a really dangerous person that even you're afraid to confront. And he didn't care about any of that. All he cared about was saving his own and making himself look like a victim.
Nix had Dander blocked for a while and told them in DMs that they wanted nothing to do with Dander, but Dander couldn't quite respect those boundaries.
Flash cut to TFS 2023. Dander shows up at my booth because I think it's his local convention, and he is like going on and on about how broke he is because he has absolutely no money, because he kind of just showed up there, which, you know, okay. But it was very clear that he was, either he had forgot that I had explicitly told him to stay away from me, or that he didn't care, that he was just ignoring my comfort. He was ignoring the fact that I wanted nothing to do with him. And looking back on it, it's very upsetting that I could be as explicit as possible and tell someone I don't want anything to do with you, and they can still push my boundaries. And so he was at my booth, and he had bought something clearly as like an olive branch attempt, and I'm like, whatever, fine, buy a shirt. That's neither here nor there, but it was very clear that Dander had intended, because I was talking with some new friends I had made at the convention. Like, we had hung out all weekend. We were really vibing with each other. It was great. It was two girls, and so it was two girls and me and my girlfriend, and we were having a really great time. We were going to go to the bar. We were going to have like a little mini party. It was just going to be a really fun time. And Dander had invited himself, because we were talking. He comes up and invites himself. And so he waits until the den closes, to just pretty much follow us to my room. He is attempting to follow us to my room. We got to the elevators before I had to just turn and say, you are not welcome. I do not want anything to do with you. I cannot make that more clear. And it was very awkward. It was an incredibly awkward scenario, because I had to explain to these people that I had they were friends, but they were very new friends. I had to explain to them, yes, I'm sorry I came across like an asshole, but this person had me doxxed. This person has put me through hell, and I want nothing to do with them. And it's very awkward. And they were like, no, we get it. He was very awkwardly following us, and we had no idea why. Like, it was a very uncomfortable situation for me, the people I was with, my girlfriend. It was just across the board uncomfortable. And it was just a very large display of either social unawareness or just not caring about social boundaries. But that's generally my thoughts on that. Dander has absolutely made all the YouTubers' life hell. He almost pushed a YouTuber to the brink, and it was a lot. And it made YouTube a very contentious place for me. It made it a place where all I could really think about is there are people who are crazy enough to go out of their way to do this, to drag 17 to 21 people into their drama because they're trying to cancel a YouTuber that does not like them. So he's absolutely unhinged, and I want absolutely nothing to do with him, and I can't make that clear enough. I gave him the grace. I feel like this is grace. I feel like this is grace to be given, as I did not talk about him publicly in this way. Even though I had all the ability to do so, I had all the screenshots, I even had some voice clips that I could have used. I could have just gone on anywhere and said, Dander Woolf is purple Yinba. Obviously, I was wrong in my video. He had us doxxed. He copyright struck 17 people. He did everything. I had to ban him from my chat. I had to kick him out of my chat because he was in an all age spaces again trying to talk about the Coyote Lovely situation, talk about Hypnotist Sappho, and I'm like, you cannot talk about zoophile accusations where minors are involved. I kicked him out of my chat, and I told him, stay away from me. It is very frustrating.
This demonstrates that Dander lacks awareness. He doesn't understand why people dislike him or even understands that we all just want to be left alone. So when Zunks called him a pedo, he didn't take that lightly. With me blocking Dander the day before, he then chose to copyright strike me and Zunks for spreading the accusations. But when we look online, we don't see that. But taking a look at private messages, it was clear cut that I never called him one, yet ended the conversation with "I know where he's coming from," and the evidence to support Zunks' claim is there. Yet I never supported Zunks in spreading that rumor. As previous videos show, I don't like it when people make that accusation falsely. The only proof I don't have is Dander asking the minor out. I have word of mouth from that minor, yet if he wants to throw his own member under the bus that he lied about all this, go ahead. Yet him attempting to copyright strike me for the second time is why this video is being made. Back then, we all made a promise that if he ever did something like this again, we would come forward with all this information. But this isn't blackmail for those who want to see it that way. We gave him every opportunity to better himself by sweeping all this under the rug, keeping the information locked, and handing him hand over his accounts. We gave him a chance to be a better man, yet he didn't learn a thing. And something a bigger creator and others seem to support.
No, I'm kidding.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, it's not really as bad as what Zunks did.
Fair.
Oh yeah, Zunks has done a lot, and I have a lot of evidence
Zunks
for
has
it
done
too.
far
Something
worse
that
than what
he
Dander
lost.
did, right?
Yeah, but
Dander, he can back up his claims and stuff. Zunks can't.
Yeah.
Which I find weird, especially that it's not as bad as what Zunks did. I mean, conversing with zoos, having them in his server with minors, sending zoo porn to a minor, along with copyright striking people like Beta, and threatening to release our information when we appealed. I don't know. I get follows doesn't equal support, yet allowing them in your Twitter spaces and having a speaking presence does, but I guess you don't really care about your community. Block me or not, it's whatever. If you want to stay out of drama, do that, but just know you're keeping this guy around, and he only brings drama. Again, nothing against the creator, it's just something to call out in order to legitimately prevent them from getting into trouble later by associating themselves with Dander. And with people showing support, I guess that relates to his community, which begs the question, is his community toxic? With sending IP grabbers to content creators, slurs, unintentional racist remarks, blatant homophobia, and generally things within that server that minors shouldn't be allowed to see, yet they are. His community still holds the same grudges as he does. Meet Muse the Rex, who claimed to have gotten into Lab's computer, which, you know, is a crime. It's unclear if they're telling the truth, but why lie about committing a crime? I mean, their partner Rones are no better, both mocking Lab and choosing to gloss over obvious signs that their friend isn't all the best. Jumping back to Muse, it's really perplexing. Was this the same person that tried to get us all doxxed? I mean, they met in VR chat. Dander's doxer he's afraid of, he also met in VR chat. Dander would have to clear the air on this, or better yet, Muse will. They say they have dirt on Lab, but haven't brought it out to light? Come on. If you guys say Dander is against false allegations, surely these ones are too without proof. For someone who repeatedly calls out zoophiles, it's a shame you associate with the man who got blackmailed by them to be in a server full of minors, let alone send those images to one. His community has a lot of double standards. They don't seem to care at all about their own community, but appear to criticize others. They never once decided to reprimand Dander for these acts, but they're going to do exactly that with others. It really harms the goal they're wanting to do. But hey, at least I have a hate boner for Dander, right? Because I'm the only one that hasn't been letting this slide like everyone else in his circle seems to do. He so proudly declares all the crimes he's committed and therefore gladly declares the harm and suffering he's caused us. And that ties into the main concept. Why does he keep getting away with all this? Well, truthfully, there's no clear-cut answer. Whether it's videos that missed the mark, the information was there yet the quality was subpar, or great videos but not enough traction, it's hard to say for sure. But I think it all boils down to vocalization. There's not enough people declaring their stance on this matter, and it's a great thing for Dander. Yet, it's not the right way to handle it. Something needs to be done to not only ensure the safety of those he knows, but also to himself. He's shown off his weapons before, threatening to bring a loaded gun to a convention, and even threatening to use those weapons on himself. Mental health is important, and that's something I've considered every step of the way. But when you keep letting people like this slide, you fail to give them the wake-up call that they need to get better. But there's a difference between genuinely helping and choosing to ignore it all for their own narrative. And back then, from the first round of copyright strikes, everyone had made the pact that if we ever did this stunt again, we will speak up. And I haven't seen that at all. In reality, it feels like I've been the only one who's kept this promise and pushing for some change. Now's the time to speak up. I deeply regretted holding all this information, and despite the fears many have of being dragged back again into a mentally exhausting feud, it's everyone's choice to sweep it under the rug again, or finally speak out on what we all wanted to do back then. But this just won't happen. He's going to relapse once again and do the things he's promised us he'll never do back then. It was only when we requested to hand over his account that he seemed that he was gonna change. He's gonna be left unchecked as always, and I won't apologize for speaking the truth about that fact. So we'll see who speaks now or forever holds their peace, as he's associating himself with dangerous people. With Folsky, which there's a video linked to his misdeeds, and the first video that Dander decided to copyright strike when he went after me for the second time. Coincidentally, when someone had chatted with Dander, he said Folsky decided to persuade him to go into this second round of strikes.
I can guarantee to you he asked you to take down Spitfire's video.
Oh, he sure did. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it.
So, with Folsky erping with a minor and Dander asking a minor out, with Dander defending Folsky, it's do with that information as you will. Is Folsky the one he's afraid of? Does Folsky talk Dander into the second round? Is Dander gonna throw Folsky under the bus, or are they partners in crime? I'll leave that up for debate. But what can we learn from all this? Well, many things actually. Firstly, don't commit crimes on those you hate. But also, people choose to ignore all these signs and can continue on like it never happened, never take accountability. And I guess that's the biggest thing about all this. To take accountability and own up to your own mistakes. Don't do it because you got caught. Don't do it to avoid hate. Do it because you messed up. If you never own up to the fact you messed up, that same mistakes will be repeated, as we all can see. These mistakes only get worse whenever someone who went after him gets called out. He has this complex where he disregards everything that's been criticized because one person got outed out as being as bad as him. But we can only see what he'll do moving forward. My prediction? He's only going to continue to be problematic, avoiding every chance to get better once again. Aside from that, his friends said he's gotten better, but I just doubt it. But him going on as Purple Yimba again, his friends are doing a pretty lousy job. There's a reason that those who are smart avoid him, and time will tell if he's decided to copyright strikes me once again. Keep life lovely, and this is Novely, logging off.